Hey guys, Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. Excited to bring you a little background video today. I know a lot of you guys have been listening to my videos and you're probably wondering who the hell is this guy? What does he know about basketball cards? What's his history? Why am I listening to him? I go through those same types of questions when I listen to people, and sometimes it's nice to just kind of give you a framework, just kind of giving you a general idea of what I'm about, how I got here, my collecting history and the hobby, and just like who I am as a human being. I don't want to go into too much detail because this is being shared with the world, but generally speaking, I think it's a good idea to kind of give you guys an idea of who I am and where I'm coming from. So I'm going to try not to make this too long, but this is just basically, I'm going to take you chronologically through my human being bio and let you know a little bit more about who I am. And then I'm going to take you chronologically, start to finish, through my hobby bio. And let you know where I started as a collector and how I got to the year 2022 and what I did in between those years. So without any delay, let's just start. So I was born in 1974. Yes, that makes me 47 years old. Basketball's in my blood. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, which I consider the basketball capital of the world. People in Indiana would disagree. People in New York would disagree. People in Chicago would disagree. Whatever. Louisville is the heart and soul of basketball in our country, and I was proud to be born there. From 1974 to 1982, I played basketball from the time I could walk. When it was snowing, my dad and I would shovel the snow off the driveway, put on mittens or gloves, and I would get shots up. He rebounded for me every day of my life until I didn't need his help anymore, and so that's kind of how I got started, right? Watching University of Louisville, University of Kentucky. As a little baby, I saw some Colonels games. I don't remember any of those from the old ABA when Dan Issel was there, but I remember my dad talking about Dan Issel and Artis Gilmore. So I kind of grew up in the 70s basketball era. So that's kind of where I started. I had a Nerf goal in my basement every single day of my life, or in my bedroom, all the way through high school. Just always had basketball around. It's always been my passion. I moved from Louisville, Kentucky to Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1983 when my dad got transferred. He was a banker. He got transferred to a bank down here in 1983. I literally, at the time, was 9 years old. I thought I was going to have to take like an airboat through the swamp to get to school because all I knew about Louisiana was alligators. I knew LSU existed, and they had a dude named Howard Carter who was really good, who I remember watching on TV. And Leonard Mitchell and some other guys from LSU. So I knew a little bit about college basketball. So all I knew was LSU, purple and gold, and I thought I was going to take a swamp boat to school. Luckily, when I got here, they did have paved roads. They spoke the same language, and so I've just kind of acclimated myself. And now, honestly, I feel more Louisiana than I do Baton Rouge, and I love Baton Rouge. I mean, I feel more Louisiana than I do Kentucky, and I love Baton Rouge, and I feel like it's more home now than anything since we've settled here for 40 years, something like that. So I grew up all through middle school playing baseball and basketball. Played baseball and basketball in high school here at a high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's a pretty well-known high school here. Both of my high school teams were nationally ranked my senior year. We had 9 players from my high school basketball team play college basketball, go on to sign to play college basketball. We had 12 players from my high school baseball team go on to play college baseball, many of them Division I. 6 of them played at LSU. 4 of them were drafted straight out of high school. So I was a very good player surrounded by absolutely phenomenal players, but it was a pleasure to play basketball and baseball in high school on those teams. I played in the AAU national tournament in 1990. Back then, the national tournament actually meant something. Now you have the Adidas circuit, the Nike circuit, Under Armour circuit. So the national tournament's like the next level of teams, and so not real competitive with those shoe company circuits. But back then, the national tournament was everything, and it was the true national champion. So only 2 teams from every state qualified. Our team did. We were pretty good. So that was a great experience. It was actually in San Antonio, Texas. Shout out to Slab Talk, San Antonio. In 1992, I actually signed an athletic letter of intent to go play baseball at Loyola, which is an NAIA school in New Orleans. That year, I tore ligaments in my elbow, which prevented me from playing baseball right when I got there. So I sat that year out while I tried to rehab that. and played so much pickup basketball. I had no skin left on my feet. I knew everybody in the city by the end of that year who played basketball because I played so much everywhere, anywhere, any game we could find, concrete, indoor, everywhere. I was playing ball and studying. That's it. So that was my freshman year. Sophomore year, I actually decided to walk on and play basketball. So started the year as a bench warmer, as a walk-on with a bunch of scholarship guys in front of me. And then by the end of my freshman year, which was my sophomore year in college, but my freshman year in basketball, I was a starting point guard. I ended up averaging 10 points a game as a freshman, which is a pretty good clip because there were a lot of games where I'd get in and score 1 or 2 points. But by the end of the year, I was solid. I was entrenched as a point guard. Got an opportunity because of some injuries and just because I really played well. I actually was at one point in the top 10 in the nation in NAIA in three-point shooting and free throw percentage. So I can shoot the ball pretty well. Again, if you're from Louisville and you're a white dude, you better know how to shoot a basketball. And so that's kind of what I attribute that to, and tons of reps. So 1995, that's the end of my basketball career. Unfortunately, nothing glorious or spectacular, but it was fun and it was a great experience. So in 1995, I actually met my wife my junior year in college. Quit basketball, decided to go back and try to play 1 year of baseball, hoping that my elbow had healed. I got through the season. I was a relief pitcher. I couldn't put a lot of innings on my elbow. It was still super painful. I just pitched through the pain. But it was fun to get to play 2 sports in college, albeit not a very glorious, resume. So that was it. Got to play those 2. My baseball highlight that was actually my junior year in college. I got to play against my old teammates from high school on the LSU baseball team. That was during some of you guys may remember the heart of the Gorilla Ball era, where that LSU team was setting records and hitting more home runs than any team in history. So I got to play against some of my old teammates, and that's something that I still talk about that today when I see them here. So I can't tell you some of the things LSU fans would say to us in the bullpen during that game, but that was a fun memory that I'll always have. So my senior year, I decided to just enjoy my senior year and spend that with my wife, getting to know her and dating her. So we ended up both graduating in 1996 from Loyola University in New Orleans, which was a great experience. Ended up getting married the very next year. I couldn't wait. I was in love. Thought I was going to be a banker just like my dad. Got the first job offer that I got. I took it. I just knew I was going to be a banker. I saw my dad playing golf and wine and dining clients, and he had a flexible schedule. He was at all my games and practices. And so I thought I was going to jump in and do what he was doing. What I didn't realize is it takes 30 or 40 years to get to that point. And so banking for me was just a little bit too slow. So one of my buddies actually one night talked me into going to law school. I hate reading. He told me it was a lot of reading. I don't know how he convinced me to do it, but I decided to attend law school. So I applied and got into LSU Law School. That's a 3-year program. For those of you who don't know, my 3rd year of law school, I had my first of 7 children. Yes, I have 7 kids. Comment below. I've heard every joke you could possibly make, but if you think you've got a new one, throw it in the comments. So I had my first of 7 children my last year of law school, which sort of made me an anomaly. And then decided to chase the money, and I went to work at a very big international law firm with over 1,000 attorneys worldwide down in Houston. I was a trial attorney. It did not take long for me to figure out that was not what I wanted to do. I thought it was, but it wasn't. So some of the best ways to figure out what you want to do in life is to figure out what you don't want to do. And so had child number 2 in Houston, decided to come back here to Baton Rouge and start a new career as a real estate transactional lawyer. So I opened what's called a real estate title company here in town with 2 law partners, which is done very well. Knock on wood. God's blessed us with a really good real estate market here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for every year from 2003 when I moved back and started the company until today. It's gone very well. A lot of hard work, a lot of great people around me. So that's what I do. If you buy or sell a house or you buy or sell a shopping center, I'm your guy. That's what I do. I make sure the documents are great. That's what real estate transactional attorneys do. We just make sure everybody's buying and selling what they intend to and make sure everything's legal. And this is, again, me making it as basic as possible. Just making sure you buy what you think you're buying free and clear so that you're the owner. So I will go backwards here. So from 2004 to 2016, I have a pretty extensive experience as an AAU coach. For those of you who don't know, AAU is like a amateur athletic union. It's basically like grassroots basketball, summer basketball, which is actually spring and summer. So I coached, assistant coach with an AAU program here, and then coached with what's called a Nike EYBL program. We got a Nike contract, and so we became one of 40 programs in the country that competed on the Nike circuit. So most of the guys you see in the NBA or that you see get drafted in the lottery, they played on a shoe company circuit, and most of them played on the Nike EYBL circuit. Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Ben Simmons, like there's too many to name. Malik Monk. You go down the list. LeBron, all those guys played Nike EYBL basketball. So I was the lead recruiter for our program. So I got really engaged with a lot of guys that are currently now in the pros, tons of overseas pros, tons of guys that are just now in college. But some of our guys are actually in the pros right now, like Skylar Mays plays for the Atlanta Hawks. He played with our program. Great kid, great family here in Baton Rouge. And then during that same time period, I started 2 or 3 other successful side businesses. But my primary focus always, remains to this day, my title company and being a real estate attorney. That's how I feed my kids and send them to school and keep my wife happy. So for fun, what do? I lift weights, I work out. I love fantasy basketball. I'm in a really fun fantasy dynasty basketball league. Shout out to the TCBA if you happen to be watching this. It's been around for 20 plus years, so it's really fun. I wish I could still play basketball, but due to injuries and all of the time that I spent jumping and playing on concrete, it just hurts too bad. So no more basketball for me. I can go out there and shoot it with my kids and shoot it with people, but I can't really play because it just hurts too bad and it's not worth it. And I am 47. And I don't like it that young guys are better than me now. And it's just hard for me to come to grips with. I do coach and attend all of my kids' practices and games. I don't coach all their teams, but I do attend all their practices, attend all their games, and working at my own company gives me that luxury to make sure I don't miss anything that my kids do. And I got 7 of them, so it's a lot of stuff. I like to spend time with my family, love to collect cards, and I've just now recently started this channel, which I'm really enjoying. So that's pretty much it about me from 1974 to present. Let's talk about my collecting life and the hobby. So I'm pulling my notes up here. Sorry, it's like I can't remember what my collecting history was, but I wanted to be, on point. So in 1979 is the first memory I have of collecting. My dad would take me to the flea markets in Louisville, where people were selling old clothes and shoes or whatever. Well, there was always a dude there with baseball cards. And so my older cousin was collecting these baseball cards. And so I was probably 5 years old. So I would go with them to the flea market. I'd try to collect the Cincinnati Reds cards because that was considered our home team because Louisville didn't have a baseball team. And from that day, I was immediately fascinated with the idea of collecting all of something, which I think in the hobby, what we call now today is set collecting. There was something about it where I wanted every Cincinnati Red. I wanted to put them in numerical order. I wanted to collect all the Oakland A's. I wanted to put them in teams, and sort them and organize them. So I was a super set collecting hobby nerd from day one. There was something about it. It was like love at first sight. I can remember in 79, so we would kind of, after the flea market kind of era, I was playing t-ball and little basketball and little soccer. And so after games, my dad would bring me to a little, we call them gas stations now, but back then they were called convenience stores called Magic Market, right at the front of my neighborhood. And I would pick up 1980 Topps baseball and 1980 Topps basketball packs. Vividly remember that was the first true year where I was opening packs. And so, still remember those trips. Couldn't wait to get in there. I'd grab the packs because they had gum in them. So I didn't have to buy gum and packs like you do today. I would just get the gum with the packs. I often ask myself, so from 81 to 90, I just collected baseball only. I don't know why. I did play Little League baseball and played baseball all growing up, as you heard, but basketball was always my first passion. It was the thing I loved to do in my free time. It was the thing that I wanted to watch the most. I just always was drawn to basketball. So I asked myself for that decade from 81 to 90, I did collect baseball. Just like every other kid, you'd mow yards, go buy packs, open them, put them in sleeves and top loaders, or put them in, you put them in the 9 slot binder pages. which probably destroyed the cards. And so I would ask myself, why in the hell was I collecting Jose Canseco in 1986, trying to get this Canseco card so bad when I could have just been buying 86 Fleer for $10 a box? Again, I'm sure a lot of us can look back and say how our life would have been different. But me, it's really maddening because it didn't make sense why I was chasing baseball cards so much instead of basketball cards. And the only thing I can think of is that's what everybody else was doing, number one. And number two, there was no basketball cards. I'm not counting star cards, but there was no basketball from 1981 until 1986, pack pulled stuff. And so it just kind of didn't exist. It wasn't in the hobby. It just never appealed because all of my buddies were, chasing Canseco and Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry and Mattingly and Boggs and Gwynn and Greg Jeffries, of all people. So that takes us through 1990. So I did that through probably my sophomore year in high school, and then I didn't collect from 1990 until 1998. So a full 8 years off, just like everybody who you see interviewed when they ask about their hobby history, got married, I found girls, dated, got married, went to college, just a lot of stuff going on where I didn't continue in the hobby for those 8 years. Then in 1998, that's my first year in law school, one of my very best friends, a basketball friend of mine at the time, said, man, look at this. And he was showing me Topps Chrome cards. And then he showed me some other cards that he bought at like Walmart or Target. And he was hooked. And when you meet somebody who's just gotten hooked in the hobby, you can see it in their eyes. Well, he was hooked on the hobby, and he immediately, I saw how excited he was, and it just clicked. I was like, oh my God, they've got jersey patches in cards. They've got autographs on the cards, like you could pull an autograph out of a pack. I thought that was fascinating. And so sure enough, the first card I saw in 1998 was Topps Chrome, and I fell in love immediately, as I'm sure many other people did. So from 1998 to 2004, I started ripping wax, right? eBay existed, but it wasn't the same. It was super primitive. There was no PayPal. There was no Venmo. It didn't have, obviously, the inventory that we have today. It just wasn't that easy to buy and sell on eBay, but it did exist during that era. But I was primarily just buying boxes at the local card shops and busting them open, which was a blast. And it was actually pretty affordable, even though I didn't have a pot to piss in at that time, since I had a bunch of student debt and was in law school and didn't even have a job. So we ripped every pack we could find in Walmart. We bought everything, man. Every single low-end product you can think of, Topps, Collector's Choice, everything we could find, we bought it and we ripped it. And it was just a really fun 6 years of collecting. I remember us paying about $110 per box is what the going rate was for Topps Chrome. It could get it a little bit cheaper if you bought in bulk. So I pulled tons of LeBrons, Carmelos, Wades. Believe it or not, at the time, people were actually even chasing TJ Ford and Chris Bosh, as funny as that sounds. So that was a little 6-year collecting binge where it was really just ripping wax and whatnot. I did have the foresight, and thank God BGS was around, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to send all my LeBrons, Carmelos, and Wades. By 2004, I knew these dudes were special. Obviously, everybody did because they were nuts from their rookie year on. So I sent all those to BGS, got them back from BGS, so they were all slabbed. We're talking, I don't know, between those three players, and I graded all my Bosches as well, and I graded all my Yao Mings, and so I probably had 150 slabs just of those 5 players. Luckily, about 40 of them were LeBron rookies, so it was really nice. I put it away, didn't even consider collecting for another 12 years. So from 2004 to 2016, didn't touch cards. Got back into collecting in 2016 because of Giannis. I've done a couple of interviews with some other shows, so I'm not going to talk too much about this, but Giannis got me back in. The Bucks were my favorite team. He quickly became my favorite player. I started buying Giannis in bulk. I couldn't believe how easy it was to buy on eBay, and I said, I'm just going to buy hundreds of this guy. I'm going to have more Giannis than anybody in the world. Well, I didn't know what was going on in the hobby, but I just clicked buy on everything, so I'm buying Giannis base Prism cards for, $10 to $12 each. He was good by then, but I don't think anybody knew what we were going to be looking at in 2022. So Giannis got me back in. It got me into the investing side of it, especially. So I loved Giannis. So I was a collector, but I was also an investor because those cards started going up in value. Graded all of them, sold a bunch of them, took some good profits, then did it again with Ben Simmons, then did it again with De'Aaron Fox, then did it again with Jaylen Brown, then did it again with Doncic. Same kind of thing, just buying in bulk, raw, sending to PSA or BGS, grading, and then selling, and then taking those profits, and then just doing it again. So really investment oriented from 2016 to 2019. And then, I transitioned from purely investing. I started thinking to myself, well, things are going really well, and we didn't know how well they would go, but I started kind of transitioning to becoming a collector as well. So I became kind of a hybrid collector investor, which I consider myself today, because I wanted to hedge risk a little bit, and I wanted to put those profits into something that I felt really comfortable with long term. So I started buying in bulk Jordan. Again, all this profit from these ultra modern flips, I took all that money and put it into the Jordan 57 Fleer in 2019. And towards the beginning of 2020, but primarily the year of 2019 was the year of Cajun Cardboard buying Jordans. My name is Brian, by the way. So that was the year of Brian buying Jordan 57s, 1986 Fleer, and Jordan 1986 Fleer stickers, all graded, no raw, all PSA or BGS graded. And I got to about 50 combined Jordan rookies just in 2019. Remember, I'd made good money on these Giannis's and Fox and Simmons and Jalen and Doncic and Mitchell and Morant, all that, not Morant, but all that stuff. And so in 2019, I just transitioned all that money into Jordans. Well, then all hell broke loose, right? And so the hobby went nuts. Well, I left out. I also put together a bunch of 1986 Fleer sets in 19 and 20. 3 PSA 8 sets, 2 PSA 9 sets, and a PSA 10 set, which was I'm very proud of. All of them with stickers. So 143 out of 143. All of those sets have stickers. So I had 6 86 Fleer sets. I should have kept doing that, but honestly, it just got boring after a while. It was really fun. Maybe the most fun I've ever had in the hobby is putting those 86 Fleer sets together. But I did that in 2019 as I was buying the Jordans because I fell in love with that set and the nostalgia that it gave me from, collecting way back in the 90s. And then something crazy happened. The pandemic happened in 2020. And I started riding my bike. And while I was riding my bike, I got tired of listening to music. And so for whatever reason, I had the fever, right? And so I just typed in basketball cards into my YouTube. And sure enough, I pulled up Cardboard Chronicles, started listening to all of Josh's episodes. I pulled up House of Jordans, which I really fell in love with. And then I also pulled up a dude who's really popular, but back then he was called PSA Collector, but I think he had to change his name. But he was called PSA Collector on YouTube. And those 3 YouTube channels gave me a newfound absolute love for 90s basketball, which I knew absolutely nothing about because, as you recall, I did not collect cards in the early 90s during that era. So really just binged on all of those episodes, just hung on every word. It actually got me in really good shape because the longer the episodes were or the more that I had at my disposal, the further I would ride my bike or jog. And so fell in love with Jordan inserts specifically, from listening to House of Jordans. And then I started to transition my collection. Okay, so I started to transition all the whatever I had left of the ultra modern stuff, not all of it, but a good chunk of it into a pretty big 1990s Jordan PC, a Shaq PC, and then kept adding to my LeBron PC with inserts and some rare colored prisms and Topps Chrome and stuff like that. And then obviously my Giannis PC. I continued to grow my Giannis rookie card collection. And so now that's where I'm at in the year 2022. But that was in 2020. I started to kind of transition into those 4 players: Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, and Giannis. Those became my big 4 PCs. Those are really the only 4 guys that I do truly collect. I never bought a pack of basketball cards in the 90s at all. Not one pack of basketball cards in the 90s. I shouldn't say that. Up until 1998. So all of my knowledge was from content, was from reading on the internet, was from, those 3 channels that I told you about. And there wasn't a lot of YouTube content or podcast content out, if you can recall, back in late 19, early 2020. So everything I know about 90s has just been from content because I never pulled anything out of packs. A lot of people go back and they collect 90s because they remember how fun it was to search for those inserts and packs. I didn't even know what an insert was until I started watching these channels. So anyway, that's kind of takes you to the year 2022. And so, from 2020 until today, my path has just kind of been to transition from ultra modern investing into kind of those 4 GOAT type players, Hall of Fame player collecting, and then set collecting, which is truly one of my passions. So as today, I can probably sit here and tell you about 10% of my hobby involvement is like truly investing or prospecting, and probably 90% is picking up GOAT type 90s inserts I don't have, or Hall of Fame player cards that I don't already have that are unique in my collection. I'm not doing nearly as much hoarding or duplicate buying and stuff like that. I'm really more collector than investor today, probably 90-10 collector investor. And then, I'm currently, what am I doing now? And so this is all 2022 as of right now, just so you guys know what I do. If you haven't figured it out from watching the channel, I'm currently collecting the 2012 Prism PSA 10 base set. I think I need 23 more cards. I am collecting the 1997 Metal Universe Precious Metal Gems Red set, which has become pretty popular lately. I put together and collected the 1993 Scoring Kings PSA 10 set, and I'm collecting the Intimidation Nation set, which I've just kind of basically just started. I'm trying to collect that in the high grade, and that's not cheap either. So I'm currently just trying to, trying to grow my Jordan collection. I'm trying to grow my Shaq collection. I'm trying to grow my LeBron collection. I'm trying to grow my Giannis collection. But Jordan trumps all, and all money ends up funneling back to Jordan. It just does. That's where I'm at. I fell in love with it, and I have not been able to shake the fever. It's only grown. The more hobby collectors and more really astute, just impressive Jordan collectors that I meet through Instagram or Facebook or talk to on the phone or watch, on hobby content on YouTube or listen to on podcasts, the more my love for collecting 90s, specifically Jordan in the 90s, has grown. So I'm going to dabble a little bit in buying a few cards from the 21-22 class. There's a couple of off the radar rookies that I like to, prospect on that have very low price points. And so if Panini would get off their ass and actually release the products that I care about, I would try to get into a little bit of that. And it would be more of the same, buy raw, grade, and then hold until, they appreciate, hopefully, knock on wood. Hopefully I can guess right on some of my prospecting. I've got a bunch of videos talking about how I do it and what I look at and what I care about. So that's what I'd like to do, but Panini's got to release the products. But my overriding goal for 2022 is to consolidate my collection. So while I will be adding a few more cards, in 21-22, really I'm trying to add fewer than I sell. And try to consolidate into more higher end cards. And so, Jordan duplicates or Jordans of lower grade or some of these ultra modern cards, I'm trying to sell those cards, take that money and funnel it right back into Jordan cards I do not have, but I wish I did have. Especially the low pop inserts. That's kind of my niche. That's kind of what I go for. And so that's really it, guys. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a rundown, of who I am, where I come from, what my roots are, so you get some kind of perspective of who I am and where I'm going and what I'm about. So all of you guys that have messaged me on Instagram, I really appreciate it. I feel like I've gotten to know a bunch of you guys just over time. But anyway, that's it, guys. I just wanted to kind of reach out to you guys, let you know a little bit about myself. Comment below if you got anything funny to say about my 7 kids. Like I said, it's the greatest blessing in life to have those 7 kids as my own. And fatherhood's like the greatest thing on earth, even better than in collecting basketball cards, if you can imagine that. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Stay positive, keep collecting, have fun, and peace.